Litchfield probably going back though. So there's 20 acres away from you. Yeah, you take it on the side.
All right, you guys, Scott, you want to start? I'm actually on zero.
Madam Vice President, I guess the floor is yours.
We have an. Okay, so the first thing on the agenda is,
Calling the meeting to order.
oh. Let's call the meeting to order.
Sure.
Um. 3007 Church Street, site plan review for a cafe and bookstore. Hi, Brent, you're on mute.
All right, fantastic. Oh, can you guys hear us?
Yes.
Fantastic. Well, my name is Brent and this is Naomi. We're happy to be with you this evening to present and discuss a cafe and bookstore on Church Street at 3007 Church Street. So do you guys just want me to dive into our slide deck here that we had sent your way?
Yes.
All right, fantastic. Well, this title slide just shows, and I'm sure you're all aware what the existing building is, and I'm sure many of you have actually been inside of it. So we don't have to go labor this slide. We can go to the next slide.
Sure. Brent, could you share your screen so we can see it?
Oh, sure. Sorry, I thought you guys had that up, but yeah, we'll share that. Give us 1 second. We're doing that right now.
Do you see that? No.
Yes.
Oh, you do. Okay, great.
All right. So do you guys see a site plan with a sheet that's labeled T001?
Yes. Yes.
All right, fantastic. So this is just a title slide, so we can go to the next slide, which is the survey, which we can probably skip this for the sake of the presentation today too. But generally, our big picture here is that we have been enlisted by our clients to work collaboratively with you guys and with them to try to design and enact a bookstore and cafe within the existing building. Our overriding goals here are to try to preserve the historic architecture that's there and touch the outside of the building lightly and the interior of the building lightly as well, and preserve the character of the building, which we love. Major exterior improvements would be making the building accessible, so building an ADA compliant ramp to allow people up into the building. At current, there's a ramp on the back of the building that isn't compliant or wouldn't allow a handicapped person up into the building. And from a programming standpoint, the big picture of the project is that the majority of the interior space would be utilized as a bookstore with a point of sale, have some new bathrooms, a small kitchen downstairs, and a small cafe with 6 tables upstairs that would serve light fare and coffee. So that's sort of the big picture for the program of the building. If we go back to the site plan, I'll just point out, so that's the existing building. And the idea that we have currently is the thought that there's an existing parking lot here, adjacent, a large parking lot at the store adjacent. And so the idea is to maintain that parking lot, put a ramp up on the side of the building that faces the parking lot, construct 2 new front porches, but leave the rest of the grounds generally open, more or less what's there currently, with allowing the existing 2 curb cuts to remain, one to have access to an improved access point for storage and sort of facility maintenance in the back, and then the existing curb cut to the small parking lot that's there currently. I can run through these individual floor plans, which I think can give you guys an idea of what we are thinking or hopeful to discuss in terms of what happens on the inside of the building. On the lower level of the existing building, there is a very uneven concrete slab with some of it being missing, with a dirt floor. And so this slide, which is labeled A101, is the downstairs floor plan, which envisions repouring a concrete slab down there, having toilets that are down there, some storage a walk-in refrigerator and a small all-electric kitchen, and a small, what we call a little like meeting room that's downstairs, as well as storage, like I pointed out. That's accessible from an internal staircase, as well as from the exterior and the rear of the building through an improved rear access. This is the plan upstairs of the main floor, which is largely what the floor plan of the building looks like now, but having a ramp on the side of the building go up, a stair that goes up from the existing parking area to two small porches that are here and here. These porches, interestingly enough, we found a very old photograph of the building, and we were inspired by that photograph, and there were porches there at some point. Naomi, do you remember what was the photograph from? 1920s?
Earlier. It was one of the first photos that we found. It was from when it was still a church, I think in the late 1800s. There were two porches out the front. So
there's some historic precedent for porches on the front of that building that are no longer there. You walk through the existing front door. There's a handicap accessible bathroom. There's a stair that goes up and down, and then you would walk into the existing main space, lined with bookcases, a point of sale, and then a small cafe point of sale in the rear of the building. And then we're currently showing 6 tables there and there. So modest occupancy. The front of the building is envisioned to look a lot like it does now, with a front porch on either side, the existing staircases to be repaired on the front, the side elevation largely to remain as it is, probably just general improvements to the outside of the building. Really, the building on the interior seems to have mold at the roof and at the ceiling, so that would have to be abated and addressed. The existing septic situation, we have been studying with Doug Weaver, and they have done the percolation tests out there. The ground is suitable for a septic field, and we're still determining the best way forward to accomplish that on the site. And we had previously suggested in this application 30 seats, and it looks like the septic that we're able to fit there would accept 20 seats. So a little bit reduced occupancy based on what we're finding just in terms of where we can locate septic and the percolation test. I would say besides the porches, the significant exterior improvement would be there's an existing pair of French doors, solid doors on the rear of the building. And the idea would be to try to infill those and put a new door that would be more in line with the language of the historic character of the windows of the building. These are some building sections, which I think for the sake of tonight's conversation, probably we don't need to get into. And then this being 2 images, this will be our last slide. These being 2 images, one on the left of the front with the 2 porches, and then the one on the right showing the interior with the point of sale for the books on the right-hand side and a small cafe counter point of sale in the rear. So I think with that, happy to have a conversation or answer any questions that you all might have or concerns or go into any detail. I would say our client has not suggested a name for the project yet, so we don't have that to share this evening. I'm sure that was somebody's curiosity there, but so with that, I'll open it up to you guys.
Does anyone have questions? And have they been in contact with you in terms of what they need for site plan or anything? I mean, they have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They came and they sent them here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And
Is there any exterior lighting proposed? Have we got in touch with the DOT for entrances or engineering for the DOT entrance or the septic?
For the DOT, we started preliminary conversations with the DOT through Doug, and so they seemed receptive to the conversation about septic. We haven't spoken to them about the entrances, mostly because they exist, but certainly we can make them aware of the general site plan and vision for this place, and start that conversation.
And then you're just working with Doug and the health department in terms of size and how many people you would like it to be able to service and.
That's right. So basically, the health department came out last week with Doug. They did a percolation test. The percolation test yielded a very positive result. Which unfortunately isn't shown on the survey. There's a little drainage basin. I don't know if you can see the cursor, but the drainage basin is located here, which was anyway not identified on the survey, and created a little bit of an issue in terms of putting septic in the side yard here. And so Doug is talking about maintaining and installing a septic in the rear corner of the property, which is what I'm highlighting here with my cursor. So that's where we're at with Doug and the health department.
So no engineer working on the septic design?
We have not given them the approval. We wanted to have this meeting first, and Doug thought it would be prudent to have this initial conversation with you guys before we took that step.
And outdoor lighting? Any thoughts on that?
Sure. So outdoor lighting, if we go to the site plan, certainly I would envision lighting this pathway to the front of the building. At some point, there would be signage on the front of the building. Like I said, the name of the project is TBD. So, we liked the existing signage that was on the building. The location of that over the door hood made sense to us. So lighting that, and then lighting the vestibule, the exterior vestibule. So this area that's covered. But I don't envision, at current, we do not envision like lighting all the landscape and making some significant exterior lighting. Mostly the signage and just lighting the pathways, to the front and obviously the egress pathways. So there'd be some little down lights or step lights that are lighting the ramp, and lighting the porch, things like that.
Yeah, that stuff will have to all be on. I mean, I know you're very preliminary here, but that'll have to all be on the site plan. And then there is a sign by the road or more towards the sidewalk.
Yep.
A freestanding sign. Is that lit now? No. Or is it can get
I don't think so, no.
It's basically located, it's like here right now. I can't speak for our client whether they would want to keep a sign there or not. My guess is they would prefer to have it on the building itself. But we could certainly ask them that question, and when we continue this conversation with you guys, we could bring a lot of clarity to that.
We don't need specifics as to the name of the business or what you put on the sign, just the size, material, location, cut sheet, and on the site plan.
Okay.
Am I right, China?
Mhm.
Any of the specifics? I have a number of questions. Are you adding any landscaping to the property? The only thing I saw is you were taking down one tree.
Yeah, at current, I would say the removal of that tree, which is right here, we had anticipated needing to remove that for the septic. If the septic is located elsewhere on the property, that large tree may remain, unless an insurance company or somebody is suggesting that because it's overhanging the building, that's a problem. But I would say our clients love trees and don't want to cut trees down. So, and we would say there's not an extensive landscape thought for the project, meaning we have only discussed general lawn in its current form, probably tidying that up a little bit, tidying up the parking lot, tidying up the gravel path to the rear of the building, but not hedging out the property or doing something severe.
If you move the septic from its proposed location on the east side of the building to that, I don't know, whatever, northwest corner,
Yeah.
Where would you move the generator that you have currently on the site plan?
I think that generator, we could look at the offsets from there, but I mean, the very likely the septic would be two seepage pits that would go back into that corner and not like a linear septic field. So it would be not a huge amount of space to take up in that back northwest corner. So the ideal would be to keep the generator generally back there, unless you would see fit to have a suggestion or recommendation of putting it somewhere else.
Not particularly. Do you have any enclosure proposed for the generator?
We do not have that on our site plan at current. Right now, we just have a freestanding generator, but certainly we would be open to, including some type of screening device for that. A fence.
And what about dumpster placement and subsequent enclosure?
Yeah, I figured that was the next follow-up question, and which is a really great question. And largely, I think our strategy would be to try to group these things together. The things that I think would be unsightly to drive by or be adjacent to. So if the waste stream of this is coming out the back of the building from the cafe and from the kitchen, which are located on the north side inside the building, that I would envision at current that waste stream ending up over by that generator or closer to the parking area, but yeah, towards the parking lot side of things.
So any enclosure would have to be on the site plan, as well as cut sheets similar with materials. Height.
I think those are great things to add to the site plan.
What was the height again?
The max,
Yeah, well,
6 feet.
6 feet.
6 feet, yeah. Unless they want more, then they can go to the other board.
I mean, I think a 6-foot high fence is generally, from our experience, that's the highest fence we've ever built. So that seems reasonable.
Where do you, sorry to capitalize this, if anybody's got anything else, feel free. Do you have any proposed hours of operation for the business?
Yeah, our clients in the document that they gave us suggested, a morning like 8:30, 9 o'clock till 6 in the evening, generally those hours. The idea here is not to have it open for dinner. But the idea, obviously, I think, you guys would know maybe even better than we would, which was to say, like, if being open earlier was better for everybody, then I'm sure that would be music to everyone's ears. But generally would be standard business hours would be 8 till 5, 9 to 6, something in that range. And we can be very specific about that if that's something that you guys want, feedback on.
I mean, I think you do miss a little bit of a coffee
Yeah, you say coffee, I
Cafe
think. Or
crowd if you're not open early here.
Yeah, when I heard my say 9, like I buy my coffee at 8 as early as possible at 8 o'clock after I drop my children off at school. So yeah, I would say that would be good advice to give our clients, our friends.
Where is the intended loading dock or loading area drop-off point for trucks delivering to the business?
Yeah, so generally there is an existing curb cut and sort of access to the rear of the building, which we're indicating here. I would say when you go to and you see the site, it looks a little less formal than what we have shown here. But the intention is to try to utilize that. We don't envision large semi trucks or something backing up into this. The deliveries would be, relatively small or local farms. And yeah, it's not like there's a Cisco truck dropping off, 70 dozen eggs or something like that. It's a pretty small operation. So the idea would be that is maintained as a way for either book deliveries and things are loaded in from the back of the building, freeing up the front of the building to try to be a little bit more beautiful.
So your deliveries come into the basement and all the stuff has to go the length of the building to go upstairs?
There are two options, and this on our side of things, I think that your question is a good one, and certainly the level of thought put in on our end is considerable into that stream. So this is the basement level plan. So the idea is that you could go from the kitchen and bring up sandwiches. Sorry, like starting from the beginning, a delivery would be taken down a series of stairs. There's a cooler there. There's a small all electric kitchen there. Then you would go upstairs and then you could go internal to the building. There is also a thought that there would be a rebuilt, there's an existing platform with a ramp that leads to an existing pair of French doors on the back of the building. And so the idea is to rebuild that and make it smaller than it is right now. But hypothetically, you could take something from the kitchen out that door, which my cursor is over, and then up a stair closer to the cafe. So there is possibility of going both all the way from the back to the front and then go to the back, or there's a shortcut, but the shortcut is exterior.
Dumbwaiter.
Your recurring books?
What's that? Oh yeah, I mean a dumbwaiter would be, yeah, be great.
My only other question, and this is the biggest concern I have, is the addition of the porch to the front. You indicated you've seen historical pictures of that porch being there previously. Can you provide that to the board?
100. Yeah, I'm actually going to try to find it right now and bring it up. We'll of course issue it to you, and it'll take us just like one. If you grant us 15 seconds, I think we'll hopefully be able to find this.
Yeah.
Oh, man. It's how reasonable.
Yeah, even this. What was interesting is if you see what we're showing on the east side of the building, a series of stairs that go from the porch down to the lawn that's there. The image that we're going to show you in a second here, it looks like there was maybe a way to get off a horse there, because there's a series of stairs that go down, but it looks like they stop like 3 feet off of the ground. We're going to show that, we're bringing it up. We found it. We're showing it to you guys right now. So this is the porch is a little bit smaller in this photograph than we're showing it, but you can see there was an existing, this whole structure is not there right now. And on the other side, it's also not there. The bell tower has completely been changed and transformed as well. We're not proposing to restore it back to this photograph, unfortunately, which would be lovely. But there was this circulation space here, a little porch, and then a series of stairs that go down here. So essentially what we were inspired by were these two, sidecars adjacent the front, connecting a ramp on that side of the building. And then on this side, allowing somebody to walk down a series of steps to the yard, the side yard.
So I have the same concern that I had before. I think the deck that you're proposing will alter the facade of the building more than I'm personally comfortable with. And I'm only one voice on the board, but if there's a way you can do a mock-up or an illustrative mock-up of what your intention is,
Sure.
material-wise and specific size-wise, tables and whatnot, that might help better visualize
Okay.
off of the site plan.
Yeah, I think it's we can absolutely make those graphics for you. And it's a bit, it's probably on the exterior, I would say that's probably the biggest. I mean, the ramp is the ramp is a necessity to get people up there, to make the space accessible. So that ramp has to go somewhere. So we feel like the location that we have it is kind of the easiest accessed from the parking and least visible all around. And then these two porches, we thought it would be lovely for people to sit out there and, read a book, read a newspaper, have a sandwich, be able to see, people drive by, things like that. Just having the opportunity to be outside seems like a nice thing. Even if it's not super well used, it's still like an opportunity to sit out there for a little bit.
I don't disagree, and the building's definitely not ADA compliant as it is now. The ramp's needed. But putting large porches on the front will alter the building.
Yeah.
There's other things that could be done in my mind, hence my request for a visual.
Okay.
That's all I got.
Okay, does anyone else have any?
No, we're good.
Do you have any other questions for any of us?
I think just generally, these comments are wonderful suggestions and things that we, can dive into on our end as a design team and come back to you guys with increased levels of specificity. If there's anything else that you guys are curious about, we're happy to be an open book and share as much as we can with where we're at with the project. And, I think the next step for this would be us to come back to you with updated visuals based on these comments, as well as any developments in terms of the septic. I think just based on what you guys have told us this evening, I have confidence to tell Doug that we should start planning the septic, unless you guys feel like there's something that would be preventative to that.
No.
Get started.
I think that the septic, obviously, you don't want to limit your number of people, because we have issues in town with businesses who aren't busy enough because they can't, because the septic's too small. So just to make sure.
I have a question. I might have missed something, but how is the downstairs part accessible to someone using a wheelchair?
I think that is just not for public use, though. The downstairs, right? The downstairs for.
We had given that some thought, and there were some schemes where we had a ramp that went down there, but we consider that to be a back of house space. And so there is at the moment, not the ability for somebody in a wheelchair to go downstairs.
So it would limit then the people that you employ.
I think if there was a chef that was handicapped, that's correct. And I would say that the people that we understand who are going to be working down in this space are, well, at present, not handicapped. So that was what we were planning for. And we felt like we were providing, minus that point, equal opportunity for people to be employed upstairs. They could certainly be employed upstairs. There is a handicap accessible toilet upstairs. That size generously has a wonderfully large window for a bathroom that size. So I think, there is an opportunity for somebody, if they were a barista, or they could work in the cafe, they could generally work upstairs. So we saw that as an equal opportunity.
Is that accurate, Warren?
I think so. I don't think if it's not accessible to the public, I'm not sure they're required to have. But I have to check on that.
I would say that's our understanding of the code and the requirement, and certainly, if that's not, then we would obviously make that downstairs accessible. Like that's not negotiable if that's what's required. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you all.
All right. Now we have an update from Stissing Farms.
Good evening. My name is John First. I'm the attorney for Stissing Farms. I have Ryan Horvath with me here as well. He's a representative of Stissing Farms. We're back before the board in August, providing an update. So I was just going to give you an update of what's been going on the last couple of months. So there's really three components. You know, as everyone knows, we've filed an application with the Attorney General's office to form a condominium association. And there's three reviews by the AG's office. The first component is the offering plan itself, which has been reviewed by the attorney for the AG's office, and she has signed off on it via an email from early August, which I have a copy I can give to Warren. The second component is a paralegal from the AG's office, and she's really looking at the forms, the title reports, and unfortunately, since this is taking so long, things changed. The broker changed jobs. New sponsors were brought in, so all the forms needed to be updated, all the title reports needed to be updated. So we submitted a response back in late August. We received some comments in late September, and we just made another submission to the AG's office. Again, this is in connection with all the forms on October 4th, which was Friday. So I also have a copy of that for Warren if he wants for his reading pleasure. And then finally, the final sign off from the AG's office is from an architect that works for the AG's office to make sure everything is compliant. We just received comments in mid-September from the AG's office, their architect. We are working on responses. Our architect has to coordinate with our engineer in order to respond to the comments from the architect. It was actually it was only not even 1 page worth of comments from the AG's office. So we hope to have that resubmission within the next week or so. And I have a copy of that letter from the architect that I can also hand over to Warren. So again, we're working, we're frustrated. It's basically seems like it takes them about 30 days to respond to our submissions, unfortunately. But as soon as we get comments, we try to turn around what we can. And here you go, Warren. Oh, thanks.
You were saying something earlier about cartons of books.
This is the weight test. Find the books. Right, right. So if you guys have any questions or comments, you know, I can continue to keep Warren updated as we make submissions.
Yeah, I'd appreciate it if you keep me updated as it rolls along, rather than. So we'd like another update by the next planning board meeting. When is it in November?
The 13th.
13th.
Yeah, sure.
You don't have to come necessarily, just give us.
Yeah, I'll shoot you an email.
All right. So there's nothing that we
Well,
Ray.
we do have, there is an application to discontinue the performance bond. So I've been in communication with Ray and George, and we think that everything has been done that was required, except for the as-built plans for the project. The preliminary set of as-built were submitted to Ray, but he wanted a finalized built, and he had some comments on that, so we want to see that.
I can provide that.
Before we can recommend to the town board that they release the bond. And I sent a response back to Ray today, just to confirm that all the work that he identified in his last letter has in fact been done. So he'll get back to me, I'm assuming, on that. I sent a copy.
You saw that.
So it would have to be presented to the town board, because the town board really has the jurisdiction over the bond. But I just wanted to know if the planning board had any objections to releasing the bond. The performance bond is for the work.
So that would be separate from all of the stuff coming from the AG's office.
Correct. Yeah, we didn't require a bond to,
I mean, I'm comfortable if Ray
Yeah.
and you and
It's
Ray
okay.
feel like they've satisfied everything. What about you?
Yeah.
And you?
I'll submit it to the town board at next week's meeting and see what they have, so I can tell them you have a positive recommendation on releasing the requirement of the bond, provided that Ray signs off on it. And George, of course, too.
Yes, okay. Sounds,
Okay,
thank you for
fantastic.
coming.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. I'll send you out the final as-bills tomorrow.
Created the September minutes.
We can't be done now, it's only 8.
Do you need me for anything else?
No.
Start your reading? Yeah, no, I've skimmed through it. Let's
There was one typo and something else, I don't remember.
Yes, yeah.
Maybe something else, I don't know.
I
Whatever.
don't remember either, but I do.
All right.
been involved.
Who wants to make a motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Take somebody else. I'm gonna take.
That doesn't seem that they gets tied up that long.
Hmm?
And it gets, they were tied up that long in that process.
It's unusual, in my experience, that the AG's office takes that long to review. I don't know what. I don't know what it's.
Nothing else?
They set somebody,
Motion to adjourn.
you know, it hit on somebody. Really.
Hi.